حي على الفلاح.
O servants of Allah, the state in the grave of a person whose sins are not forgiven is more horrifying than death itself. Fear the grave's narrowness, its squeezing, its imprisonment, and its loneliness. Verily, the grave calls out daily, I am the house of lowliness, the house of terror and worms. The grave is like a garden of paradise for a good doer, while it is like a dungeon of hell for the evildoer. Allah tells his enemies he will send 99 serpents in their graves that will tear their flesh and smash their bones, and this punishment will continue till the day of judgment. If one such serpent exhales towards this earth, all the plants and trees will be destroyed. O servants of Allah, your souls are tender and your bodies delicate. You cannot confront any ordinary serpent of this world. How then will you face them in the grave? But let us not forget that for a good doer, the grave is like a garden of paradise. As the scholars constantly reminded us, our departure from this world is imminent. It is but a transitory place, a mere passage to our permanent abode, while the hereafter is for eternity, beginning with life in the grave, followed by the stage of barzakh, continuing on until the day of judgment, qiyamah, until we can finally enter paradise or the hellfire. Each of these phases of life has different effects, occurrences, and outcomes, all depending on our deeds and beliefs in this short and temporal world. Yet most of us, the next world is too frightful to even think about. And such fear is often coupled with a general lack of awareness of what exactly we will encounter once the soul disconnects with the material body and enters a whole other dimension of life. The vital question we must ask is, do we plan to take the life of the hereafter as it comes when it is our turn to lie some 6 feet under the ground? Or will we, as intelligent beings, acquaint ourselves with its reality before we get there? The squeezing of the grave is the first thing that the deceased will experience once he enters the grave. Aisha narrates that the Prophet ﷺ said, the grave will squeeze its occupant once, and if anyone were to be spared from it, Sa'ad ibn Mu'adh would have been spared from it. The squeezing of the grave will happen to every believer, and it will be intense, but the righteous believer will be released quickly, and his grave will be made spacious for him. So this torment will not last for a long time. As for the evildoer, the squeezing will be intense in his case, and the constriction of his grave will last longer, commensurate with his sin and disobedience. No one, whether he was righteous or an evildoer, will be spared from the squeezing of the grave. But the difference between the Muslim and the disbeliever in this regard is how long the squeezing will last. It'll last for a long time in the case of the disbeliever, whereas for the believer, this squeezing will happen when he is first placed in his grave. Then his grave will become spacious again. The reason for this squeezing is that there is no one who did not commit sin. So this squeezing will be like a punishment for his sin. Then the mercy of Allah will save him from it. It was narrated that Muhammad at-Taymi, rahimahullah, said he used to say that the squeezing of the grave happens because the earth is like their mother, and from it they were created, and they were taken away from it for a long time. So when its children return to it, it embraces them like a compassionate mother whose children were away from her. Imam al-Dhahabi, rahimahullah, said, the squeezing has nothing to do with the torment of the grave. Rather, it is something that the believer will feel just as a person feels the pain of losing his child or his close friend in this world. And as he feels pain when he is sick, pain when his soul is taken, pain when he is being questioned and tested in the grave, pain when hearing his family weep for him, pain when being resurrected from his grave, pain and horror in the place of standing, pain when passing over hell, and so on. He may suffer from all of these frightening things, but they are not the torment of the grave or the torment of hell at all. Rather, Allah will alleviate some or all of that for the righteous person, but the believer will have no rest until he meet his Lord. And so after the squeezing of the grave, the interrogation begins. Like death, the questioning of the grave is unavoidable. Everyone who has passed away is actually alive in the grave. But the true nature of this life is beyond the realm of human comprehension. And while in that grave, each and every person will be interrogated about his faith. No one will be able to abscond. For the transgressor and the disbeliever, it'll be a testing, traumatic experience about which the Prophet ﷺ said, "It has been revealed to me that you will be tried in the grave. In severity, it will resemble the trial of Al-Masih ad-Dajjal." The Prophet said, "The interrogation of the grave is something terrifying to behold. I have not seen a sight more harrowing than the grave. My brothers, prepare yourself for this day." After burying the deceased, he would say, "Ask for forgiveness and firmness for your brother, because he is now being questioned." Success and failure will be determined entirely by the faith of a person and what they did during their life. In order for us to know how to pass this most important of tests, we first need to know what questions will be asked. Once we know what they are, we can determine what steps needs to be taken, what preparation needs to be done in order to succeed. Our narrative begins at the point when the soul is returned to the body in the grave and the deceased hears the footsteps of the mourners as they leave. Then the squeezing takes place, and then some people will be visited by two angels, stern, dark-skinned with blue eyes, voices like thunder, and eyes like lightning bolts, Munkar and Nakir. They will make him sit up, and sit up he will, rubbing his eyes. The sun will appear in front of him, red and dim as if just setting. If he was a true believer, his prayer will be positioned at his head, his zakah on his right side, his fasting on his left, and the remainder of his good deeds, specifically charity, joining ties of kinship, and good treatment of other people, by his legs. Punishment will approach him from each of these directions, and each of those deeds will state, "You have no means of access here." The angels will begin to question him, but he will say, "Give me some time to pray." They will say, "You can do so later. First answer." Despite their alarming appearance, the believer will neither be terrified nor overwhelmed. The angels will ask different people different sets of questions, but all will revolve around the belief in the Messenger ﷺ and following him. It is about me that you will be tested, and about me that you will be interrogated. What did you say about this man, Muhammad ﷺ? The believer will reply, "I bear witness that he is Allah's servant and messenger." What do you know of this man? The believer will reply, "Muhammad, Allah's messenger. He came to us with guidance and clear proofs. We answered him, believed in him, and followed him." "Who is your Lord?" He will reply, "My Lord is Allah." They will ask, "What is your religion?" He will reply, "My religion is Islam." They will ask, "Who is this man that was sent to you?" He will reply, "He is Allah's messenger." They will ask, "How do you know?" He will reply, "I read Allah's book, had faith in it, and believed in it." Once the believer has responded, the angels will say, "We knew you would say this." And a voice will then proclaim, "My servant has spoken truthfully. Prepare his bed from paradise, open a door to paradise for him, and clothe him in the garments of paradise." Through that opening, he will look on at its beauty and splendor. A gateway to the fire will also be opened before him, and he will see it, one part consuming the other, and will be told, "Look at what Allah saved you from. This would have been your abode had you disobeyed him." Both sights will increase his joy. His grave will expand, stretching out as far as he can see, becoming a green, fertile garden, and it will be lit up like on a night when the moon is full. He will ask permission to go to his family to tell them the great news, but will be told to rest and given the glad tidings. You spent your days in certainty, you died in a state of certainty, and in a state of certainty you will be resurrected by Allah's permission. A man with a comely face, nice garments, and a pleasant odor will come to him and say, Rejoice, you have tidings that will delight you. Rejoice in good pleasure from Allah and gardens of eternal bliss. This is your day which you have been promised. He will ask, Who are you? Your face is beautiful and bodes well. He will reply, I am your good deeds. By Allah, I always knew you to be quick to do good deeds, slow to do bad deeds. May Allah give you the best reward. He will then supplicate, My Lord, quicken on the last hour. He will then fall asleep, sleeping the sweetest sleep imaginable until resurrected. And while like this, his soul will be placed in the body of a bird which eats from the trees of paradise. It is concerning this that Allah's Messenger ﷺ, the soul of a believer is a bird that eats from the trees of paradise until it is restored to his body on the day of rising. The two angels will also come to the disbelievers and make him sit up. And sit up he will, terrified and overwhelmed. They will ask him, Who is your Lord? He will reply, I don't know. They will ask, What is your religion? He will reply, I don't know. They will ask, Who is this man that was sent to you? He will be unable to recall his name and will be told that his name is Muhammad, and he will reply, I don't know. He will be told, You did not know, neither did you follow those who did. The same will be asked of the hypocrite, the person beset with doubt. However, in answer to the questions, he will say, I do not know. I just said what other people were saying. They will say, We knew you would say this. And he will be told, You did not know, neither did you follow those who did. He will then be warned, In doubt did you spend your days, in doubt did you die, and upon doubt you will be resurrected by Allah's will. A voice will proclaim, My servant has lied. Prepare his bed from hell for him. Open a door to hell for him, and clothe him in the garments of hell. He will then suffer its intense heat, and inhale its poisonous fumes, and look on at the fire. An opening to paradise will also open before him, and he will behold it in all its splendor, and be told, This would have been your place had you only obeyed Allah. Allah replaced this with that. There will be no limit to the depth of his anguish and despair. His grave will constrict and compress around him so much that his ribs interlock. And a man with an ugly face, coarse garments, and an offensive odor will come to him and say, I have news that will distress you, for this is your day which you have been promised. He will ask, Who are you? Your face is revolting and forebodes evil. He will reply, I am your evil deeds. By Allah, I always found you slow to do good deeds and quick to do evil deeds. May Allah reward you with evil. He will then cry out, My Lord, do not bring the last hour. A blind and deaf person will come to him carrying an iron hammer. Where he hit a mountain with it, he would pulverize it. All of mankind together would be unable to carry it, let alone prevent it striking its target. He will strike the disbeliever with that rod, crushing him and turning him to dust, and everything between the east and the west will hear it strike, except for man and jinn. Then his body will be returned as it was, and he will strike him again, causing him to scream in agony, the sound of which is heard by everything except man and jinn. He will be set up upon by 70 serpents, each having 7 heads, which will proceed to maul him. Then he will be rendered deaf, dumb, and blind. Both the disbeliever and the hypocrite will be punished until Allah resurrects them.